Premier League Game Week 20 predictions. Happy New Year, everybody. It is officially 2025. I do not know where the time is going. Last year was the quickest year. Yes, last year was the quickest year of my life, I swear. But I hope 2025 will be a great and happy and successful year for each and every single one of you. We are officially into the second half of the Premier League season now. It's officially getting to the business end, and points are becoming even more important to get. Let's get straight into this weekend's predictions. First up, on Saturday, we have Spurs hosting Newcastle at 12:30. And you've got to say Newcastle are favourites in this game. They're absolutely flying. I think they've won 4 Premier League games now on the bounce. Alexander Isak, unbelievable player, by the way, is just scoring at will. They're just coming off a very comfortable 2-0 win at Old Trafford. Spurs, it's very different. Obviously being held in their last game at home against Wolves. They're without a win now, I think since Southampton a couple of weeks ago. Obviously they got slapped by Liverpool not too long ago as well, at home 6-3. And I think Ange is on borrowed time at this point. I think Newcastle score some goals in this one, and they leave it to no doubt. I'm going to say Spurs 1, Newcastle 3. On to the 3 o'clock games on Saturday. We have Bournemouth at home to Everton. Now, Everton obviously coming off what you would say is a disappointing result at home to Nottingham Forest. I mean, I think it's a great result anytime you go to Goodison Park and win. But with Everton, how they have been defending lately, obviously keeping clean sheets against the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea, holding Manchester City to just a goal despite their form at the Etihad. You would have said Everton would have been expecting something out of a game at home against Nottingham Forest, despite how well Forest are obviously doing this season. But Bournemouth, on the other hand, a lot of draws lately. Another draw with a late goal via a Fulham mistake at Craven Cottage. And this is going to be a tough game. This is going to be a tough game to call. I'm actually going to say Bournemouth just about win this one, 2-1. Then we have Aston Villa against Leicester at Villa Park. Leicester, who I watched against Manchester City just a few days ago, were the better team for the majority of the game. I mean, let's not get it twisted about Man City in that game. They were not good. If Leicester just had some quality up front, then they would have got at least a point out of that. Villa, on the other hand, held to a draw against Brighton at home, 2-2. Brighton getting a fairly late equaliser. They haven't been very consistent so far this season, but I can't see them not getting the job done here. I'm going to say Aston Villa 2, Leicester 0. Crystal Palace up against Chelsea. Chelsea are now coming off 3 games in which they have dropped points. A loss 2-0 to Ipswich at Portman Road just a couple of days ago. A loss at home to Fulham and a draw away to Everton. And they are now potentially in danger of letting their season slip away. Palace as well away is not an easy place. I mean, Sellers Park is not an easy place to go to at any time. And Chelsea will have to play well in this one to win. Obviously, Palace coming off a 2-1 victory at home to Southampton, in which they went 1-0 down. And Palace haven't been great this season. Eze scored a nice goal against Southampton. Maybe he's coming back to a little bit of form. I don't think Chelsea win this one. And I think a draw is written all over it. I am going to say Crystal Palace 2, Chelsea 2. Southampton against Brentford at St. Mary's. Now, this is being recorded on New Year's Eve. Obviously, Brentford are playing tomorrow as this is being recorded against Arsenal at home, so we will see how that one goes. But Brentford, they have a couple of injuries there. Obviously, they lost for the first time at home against Nottingham Forest. They lost for the first time at home in the league this season against Nottingham Forest there just a couple of weeks ago. Southampton have looked better under even Juric, despite them having 2 losses. I think they could get something here, genuinely. Brentford do have a lot of quality up front. They will punish you if you give them chances, and Southampton undoubtedly will. But Southampton have looked better under the new manager. I'm going to say this is going to be a 1-1 draw. We have Manchester City at home to West Ham. As I said earlier on in the video, I watched City away to Leicester in their last game, and City were poor. They were very, very lucky. They gave Leicester some really good chances, and Leicester just didn't have the quality to take them. Vardy obviously is quite aged now. He's not the same player. He doesn't have what he had in his legs previous. And look, it's a case of City. Yes, they won that game, but their performances wasn't any better. Their performance wasn't any better, and I'm yet to see a City performance that even looks like City since they have been on this terrible, terrible form. Maybe we'll see it this weekend. I'm not so sure, but West Ham are not a good side right now. I've said right from the start, Julian Lopetegui is not that guy. Obviously, absolutely delighted with Liverpool's 5-0 win there just a few days ago. And look, I was expecting a comfortable win, and that is what materialised. City, despite their struggles, I don't see them really struggling here. I'm going to say City win this 2-0. Then the evening kickoff on Saturday, we have Brighton up against Arsenal. Now, I'll say again that this is being recorded because I'm away going to the darts tomorrow evening. So this is being recorded, as I say, before the Arsenal and Brentford match. So we don't know, as of now, I don't know how that will go. Even though I think Arsenal will win, but I kind of feel that it will be a close game. Anyway, Brighton at home to Arsenal, regardless of what happens in that Brentford versus Arsenal game tomorrow night. This is a tough game. Brighton have not been on good form for a while now. I think they're without a win in 5 or 6 Premier League games. They have a few draws in there, but they have a few poor losses too. Obviously, a few weeks ago, they were well beaten at home to Crystal Palace, which was, a derby, and it was a really surprising result. It's, I think, even more surprising because of the start that Hertzler had at the club, but Brighton away is never an easy game. Brighton at home is never an easy game for any team, but Brighton away is never an easy game. And Arsenal, I remember, won there easily last season, but apart from that, they have been pretty close games. I am going to say Brighton gets something from this game, and I'm going to say it's going to be another draw. Brighton 2, Arsenal 2. Then on to Sunday's games, we have Fulham up against Ipswich at Craven Cottage at 2 o'clock. Now, Fulham obviously coming off a draw at home against Bournemouth 2-2. Ipswich coming off a fantastic win just last night, actually, against Chelsea. A game in which I thought Ipswich would be competitive in, because I have seen cracks in Chelsea, especially this season, especially over the last couple of weeks. But a game in which I think you'd have to say was their best performance of the season. Kieran McKenna is a good manager. Liam Delap, for example, is a good player. Hutchinson scored a nice goal in that game too. So Ipswich might get a bit of a bounce off that, but I just think Fulham are too good. They have really good forwards. They have the likes of Anthony Robinson at left back. If you give them chances, they will take them. Even Jimenez scored a nice header against Bournemouth there just a couple of days ago. I can't see Ipswich getting anything from this game despite the result against Chelsea. I'm going to say Fulham win this 3-0. Then the big one, Liverpool versus Manchester United, 4:30 on Sunday. If you haven't already, please watch my preview with my good United friend Naeem on my channel of the game, or for the game. I'm going to be honest, look, Liverpool United is always a game, where, well, look, it regardless of how bad United are, it's always going to be a huge game. It's always going to be a massive game. It doesn't matter how good Liverpool or United are going into it. The other team always has a chance if they turn up on the day. I mean, that's football, but in a nutshell, that is this game. We've seen great United teams in the past get turned over by poor Liverpool sides. Last season, obviously, United parked the bus at Anfield, and Liverpool weren't great on the day. I think we still had like a 3 XG, but we couldn't score. It was 0-0. But we're so much better this season. We have players in form all over the pitch, especially forwards. United are even worse. I think this is the worst United team I have ever seen in my life. And I'm not going to go too much more into it, because as I said, you should watch the preview on my channel. But I think it's going to be sweet and sound. Liverpool 4, Manchester United 0. And then finally, to end off the weekend, or post-weekend, we have Wolves at home to Nottingham Forest. Now, this is going to be a tough game for Forest. Obviously, they're second in the league as I speak right now. Just coming off a great win at Goodison Park just a couple of days ago, just in their last game. Wolves have been very, very good since Pereira has came in. Even Pereira, he's done a really good job so far after 3 games. He's unbeaten. He's got 7 out of 9 points. Obviously, that late equaliser that they got against Spurs to make sure of that point. They even had a chance, actually, just a couple of minutes afterwards to actually win that game, which would have been crazy. It was a great finish to get that equaliser in that game from Strand Larsen, who looks like a decent player. But this is a tough game to call, I must say, and I don't think Forest win this game. I think Wolves... I think this bounce with this new manager... Look, Wolves have always had good players, and now that they seemingly have a manager... I'm not saying Gary O'Neill was awful, but now that they seemingly have a manager who can utilise those players, I think Wolves will just go up now for the rest of the season in the table. I'm going to say... I feel like I've predicted so many draws. I'm not going to predict a draw. Wolves 2, Forest 1. So there are my predictions for Premier League Game Week 20. Let me know in the comments how your team, or how you think your team, is going to get on this weekend. If you've enjoyed the video, please make sure to give me a like. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the action over the weekend. I hope and I pray, but I am pretty sure it's going to be a pretty easy win for Liverpool and a pretty nice, comfortable evening at Anfield on Sunday, but we shall see. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you over the weekend. Of course, I will be live for the Liverpool and Manchester United game, so I will see you then.